Hi, it's Dave here. This is my wife, Kathy. In the red corner! My wife, Kathy! Let's get ready to Rocky!
We love Rocky movies on the cinema.
Yeah.
And we
By the way, this is the Cinema,
movies.
the podcast where we walk home from the movies. Should say that.
And we're pumped.
Yes, we love. Oh God, I love this franchise.
I'm so excited. I feel like this one snuck up on us. I didn't even know what was happening, and then I saw a poster, and I couldn't be happier.
I was like, "Is that out? That's out!" And here we are.
That's happening.
We went for a few drinks beforehand, just because you have to.
I mean, this is a big night for us.
We did a montage.
Yeah.
We did a drinks montage. And we've been training, and now we're excited.
Got my mom into babysit. Like, you know, we're prepared for this movie.
Yeah.
We're ready to witness it. We've just been chatting about the Rocky franchise in the pub. I still maintain that one of my best cinematic experiences of my whole life was Rocky 6.
Rocky Balboa.
For anyone who knows, came back after a very long time. And it was the first one I ever saw in the cinema, because all previous I'd seen on DVD, and it was just
there was an energy.
It was incredible.
You know when you're in the cinema and it's just electric.
Like everyone in the cinema that night was like
cheering.
Was like gonna fly now. Everyone was ready for it.
And you know everyone's on the same wavelength as you. And I think that happens often in horror movies when you get that wave of scare that happens, you know, and it happens with sports movies. I think are really good because it's got that elation and that. And by the way, I guess that's live sports in general.
But we don't watch sports.
Live sports is. But
we only watch sports in movies.
Yeah.
So this is the 9th movie in the Rocky franchise. We need to say that.
Yeah.
And the quality, bar Rocky 5, has never really dipped that much. It's a consistency.
No.
If you think of a franchise that is
arguably 3's not great.
If you think of a franchise that has this many movies in it, to be. No, I haven't seen 9 yet, but
the bar is high.
To put out this level of quality is quite something. Now, Michael B. Jordan to be brought in as Apollo Creed's son was just flash of brilliance.
Yeah,
he's incredible.
That first Creed movie is excellent. That is not available on this podcast, but we did do a Cinemile episode on Creed 2.
Yeah. And then
you scroll back,
is actually directed by Michael B. Jordan, so I'm really interested to see what he's like as a director.
This is his debut.
I've got huge faith in him, just based on everything he's ever done. But
so Ryan Coogler was the director of the first two. Also directed the Black Panther movies. I don't know why he is not coming back for this third one. I don't know. Maybe he's done with it. Maybe
Michael B. Jordan
was busy
just
doing
like,
Black Panther.
Maybe Michael B. Jordan's just like, do you know what? I'm the titular
character.
Let me do it.
He's like, put me in, coach.
I don't care.
He wants to get in the ring.
I'm so into it. I can't tell you. We're so excited. We're nearly at the cinema now. But
I mean, what else is there? Let's recap. Creed 2. Like, where did we leave off? Because I don't think Sly is in this, right? I think he's bowed out. Maybe we'll get a cameo.
I truly mean that when I say this, I can't remember Creed 2. I just remember that I loved it.
Kathy, it's Ivan Drago and his son. They came back. It was the man that murdered his father.
Amazing.
In the ring.
Yeah, very happy.
Facing off against his son.
I remember that. Sorry, no, spoilers for Creed 2.
Are you going to spoil the ending of Creed 2?
No, because I don't remember it.
Okay.
But
then it's not a spoiler.
Creed 2, he had a baby. He was super cute, and that baby had an Up a Baby buggy, which at the time we were using a lot because we had a baby at the time.
All right, so Kathy has argued in the past that posters can be spoilers. Now you're arguing that product placement is spoilers.
Spoilery the baby. The baby had...
Spoiler, there's a brand of pram.
What to my mind is the best buggy in the world, so I'll never forget that they had that for their baby.
Wow.
However, I've forgotten the end of the movie.
What's Tessa Thompson?
Tessa Thompson,
in this series? Yeah, she's great.
Anyway, clearly we love the franchise. We can't remember the second last Creed. I remember the Rockies more because obviously I've watched the Rockies 1 to 5 a ton of times.
The Rockies.
Here we go. Can't wait.
Favorite Rocky?
Rocky 4.
Yeah, correct.
What's your favorite?
Rocky 4.
Obviously,
I mean, it's not the best one.
There's no question.
The best one is probably the first one in terms of sort of actual quality of material, but the most entertaining one is by far the fourth one.
And that's why Creed 2 was so good, because it was such an homage / sequel to Rocky 4. And it's all coming back to me now as I think about it.
So excited.
Love it. Okay.
All right.
See you on
do
the
you know
other
who
side.
else is in this?
Who?
Jonathan Majors, who we just saw in the Ant-Man movie, Kang.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's great. So,
Awesome.
So I think
Love
this is
him.
a good. This is a good lineup.
Yeah. Wow.
You know?
Amazing month for him. Incredible.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. He was the best thing about Ant-Man. Right. See ya. On
Bye.
the
We
other
will see
side.
you very soon.
See you after how many rounds?
How many? 10, isn't it?
12? I don't
They
know.
do 10. I don't know.
I will stand here
Sports.
because it's not about how hard you get hit, it's about how much you
What's
can
the
get
best?
hit.
What's the best? And
keep
on podcasting.
Podcast.
Yeah.
Anyway, we
have to
should
go.
watch this
Yeah.
movie. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, my man, can I help you?
Let me get an autograph.
Nah, I ain't signing no autographs, but you get off my car.
You don't remember me, huh?
Damien. How long were you locked up?
18 years, bro. Just got out last week.
Glad to have you back out, huh?
I know I've been away a long time, but I kept myself in shape. I still got gas in the tank.
Come by the gym.
Thank you.
Curious what happened with you two?
I didn't tell you. We was like brothers. I was the best, though. But I never got a chance to prove that. That's cute.
Hurt me?
I know what you're doing, Donnie. You don't owe this dude nothing.
Damien's fighting the world, and he's trying to hurt people.
I vouch for you. You think you mad? Try spending half your life in a cell. Watching somebody else live your life. I'm coming for everything. You threatening me?
Get up, rock, you bum. Kathy predicted boldly that the ghost of Mickey would appear at one stage. During
I
that
was
movie.
ready for it.
Spoiler, doesn't happen.
We've seen his ghost before.
So we've just seen Creed 3. We won't spoil the movie yet until we get to spoiler street. So we'll just give you our general perspectives and thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very tired. Do you know what happened? You know when you do the pre-game drinks and then you don't keep it going and you start to sag in your seat a little. I'm quite tired now.
Yeah, but you know what counteracts that slump? The adrenaline of watching a Rocky movie.
And I certainly did get a few adrenaline
There's
hits
three
here.
things you need
Go.
for a successful entry into the Rocky
Number
franchise. Number one.
Montage.
No.
Oh,
Number
good.
one, respect for an extremely personal rivalry.
Oh, yes.
Number
yes,
two.
yes. Go.
Respect for a training montage.
Yeah.
Number three, respect for the soundtrack.
Okay.
This film,
Do you mean the original soundtrack?
original
Yeah.
Rocky music. This film has all of those things. It has all of the ingredients of a Rocky movie.
Yeah.
And some directorial flair from Michael B. Jordan, some things we've not seen done in the franchise before.
Yeah, I think he did a good job.
He did a really good job.
Yeah.
He actually respects every element of the franchise, everything you need to know, and has clearly got a huge love for the franchise. I would say
Yeah.
that's completely evident. And then he
It
took
feels
it
like
upon himself
it feels
to
like a Rocky movie.
be a bit creative, and I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
We'll get into that in Spoiler Street. Very cool.
So you liked it?
I really liked it, and I can't believe that the Jonathan Majors,
Yes.
how good when we talked about Ant-Man, which we reviewed a few weeks ago, we both said he was the best thing in the movie. He's brilliant in it.
He's the best thing in this movie too.
He's unbelievable.
He's amazing.
Do you know who he reminds me of in this film, actually? And I mean this as a massive compliment
Who?
to both of them. First of all, he's so different in this film than he was in Ant-Man, which kind of shows his mad range. He really reminds me of how Barry Keoghan played the character in Banshees of Inisherin physically.
Yeah. Oh,
It's very similar physicality.
There's a twitchiness.
Yeah.
Almost like he can't stand
He can't
still. Yeah.
But also, he's a character I had a huge amount of empathy for.
Yeah.
And I think he was phenomenal casting in this film. And that's my top line. I really loved this film.
Let's be honest.
What about you?
That movie does not work without him.
This movie?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
You take him
go
out, or
different
you take
roads.
you take a lesser actor. That movie doesn't work. As in, I'm telling.
this-
what
this-
I'm saying is the strength of the screenplay, the directing. That's all fine. Michael B. Jordan doing
he's brilliant as
usual
Creed, yeah.
performance, but with Jonathan Majors,
he elevates
levels this movie up. He does.
Some could say the movie's punching above its weight by getting him to be in it.
Well, here's what I think. I think this is a good movie. I think it's a good entry to the Rocky movie. I agree with the Rocky whatever saga, franchise, whatever it is. I agree with you in that it has all the right elements. I think Michael B. Jordan has enough respect, is trying to like he delivers the formula that you want while also kind of trying to put his own stamp on things.
He's really earned his place in it now. Like I feel like he's a really established character in the franchise.
Yes, very much so. But I don't know, it's not a massive slam dunk. That's not the right sport. It's not a massive knockout for me.
By the way, we remember there was 12 rounds in boxing as we were watching.
As we were watching.
Correction on our introduction.
For me, the first half of this movie is a lot more compelling than the second half.
Yeah, agree. There's some things we need to get into in spoilers.
I'll talk about that in spoilers. Yeah. But I think it kind of takes a gear shift halfway through because it has to make certain things happen. Mm-hmm. And that gear shift left me feeling like I was watching a different film and a less interesting film. There's a sort of we won't talk about the plot too much because you don't need to know too much, but it involves, you know, like you said, one of the 3 checkpoints is, you know, an emotional, personal connection and rivalry, and that is the thing that fuels this movie for the first half in particular. This underlying sort of passive-aggressive frenemy vibes from these two, and it really propels the movie and keeps it going forward. And then it kind of, anyway, I'll talk about it in Spoiler Street. But for me, I don't think it's not one of the best Rocky or Creed movies, but it is a very solid entry. And anytime Jonathan Majors was on screen, I was leaning in like, oh my god, he's like captivating.
I can't believe I've never seen him in anything, and in the last month now I've just been completely blown away by him twice.
So what else? I mean, Tessa Thompson is good as always, but doesn't get a whole lot to do. There is a lot of sweet family scenes, but
in this series, and it is very much like Michael B. Jordan's character Creed is very much I'm the big strong man who never talks about his emotions, and that is actually kind of an uninteresting character in general, but I think they flesh him out as much as they can. At the same time, his life's mission is to punch people, so there's only so much they can kind of flesh him out for. But I think Michael B. Jordan, we know, is a very soulful actor, and he really humanises Creed, I think, who on paper could be a very dull character. I think Michael B. Jordan really brings him to life as well. I just think it's so cool that he's directing this franchise now. And if you think about it, like, he was just in Black Panther, and your man was just in Ant-Man, and Tessa Thompson was just in Thor. Yeah. So like they're in 2 huge different franchises, but this film feels way more soulful. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'd say as an actor, this is the film you'd really value having been in.
Also, how about the fucking physicality of those 2 guys?
God.
Like, you're just looking at them, you're just like, they are brutes.
They are like big. I feel like am I imagining it now? And not Dolph Lundgren aside, who's obviously just a tank of a man, but like Rocky was never that muscly, was he? Compared to what these guys are now.
I mean, look, you could level the same about just
sports in general,
athleticism in general. Looks athletes look different now than they did then, but also the average person. I mean, you look at like the Love Island gym bodies, and you know, there's a different sort of, I guess it's like status of what is considered attractive in modern day.
They're just absolutely phenomenal shape. Like, watching them fighting, I felt like I was watching, and again, I don't watch real boxing, so I don't know, but it felt like we were watching 2 like actual world-class boxers.
It's funny, they're 2 quite small men though, or they don't look particularly big, because when Drago appears very briefly in this movie, Drago
but I
Jr.
I don't think
and when
he
comes
small.
on, you're like, oh my god,
I don't think they're small.
He's a giant.
They repeatedly
Maybe there's
say
a bit
that
of both.
they're both 6'1". They're not small. Yeah. Drago is a tank, much like his father
but I
was.
wonder, is there a bit of, you know, they're 6'1" in the movie, the way Tom Cruise is 6'1" in movies?
No, come on, you're calling these two men small. They are not.
I want to bring up their heights. Well, we did bring one thing we did Google immediately upon coming out of this movie was their ages, because Kathy and I had a little bet going in as to the ages of these two actors.
Because I was saying, this franchise loves to put old men in the ring.
And
about Jonathan Majors.
And before we answer, I think take a pause and ask yourselves, dear listeners, what age do you think Jonathan Majors is? Take a pause,
and
think about it.
what age do you think Michael B. Jordan is?
And well, that one's easier. And then, what age do you think they both are? What do you think the age gap is?
Before they answer,
because an age gap is presented in this movie.
Yeah.
And then we'll tell you the answer in Spoiler Street. But you can, or you can Google.
But can I, before we get to Spoiler Street, multiple people make comments about how Michael B. Jordan is an old man in this film, right? Have you seen Rocky 6?
Yeah, guys,
6-year-old.
Guys, that happened in your universe, guys. You watched that boxing match happen in real life,
so
and he stayed the course with a man 30 years younger than him.
Michael B. Jordan is not old in any context.
No one ever references that.
But anyway, to Spoiler Street.
Okay, so Spoiler Street. So spoilers now for Jonathan Majors' real life age. So Kathy, I guess he was 39 and that Michael B. Jordan was 35. Kathy guessed that Michael B. Jordan was 36, 37 and that Jonathan Majors is 50.
Yeah, I thought he was 50. He's got the oldest soul and like old eyes.
And I was laughed at this. And then when we sat down to the movie and he appeared, suddenly I was looking at him and I was like, I think Kathy might have an edge on me here. So I was like, I'm revising it. I think he's 43, 45 tops. Anyway, he's 33 years old. He's younger than Michael B. Jordan by 3 years.
But also means when they filmed this film, he would have been like 31.
Yes, exactly. But he does look older, and the movie
he acts older.
But the movie tells you he is much older.
The movie implies he's like at least
maybe
3-4 years.
3, 4, 5 years.
The other movie we watched him in, where he's like a scene partner with Michelle Pfeiffer, because I know they de-aged Michelle Pfeiffer, right? But like, this is what I mean about it's not about his looks. It's like he's an old soul.
Yes, no, he is.
He's got eyes that like have lived 1,000 years.
Yeah, exactly right. He carried those 18 years in prison on his face.
He did. He
right?
felt it.
Like, oh my God, there was like.
And in Ant-Man, okay, we won't go into details because we're not going to spoil a different franchise, but like, he's lived a long life in Ant-Man as well. So I really now need to see him in a film playing a 33-year-old.
Yeah, and he'd be like, no, he's miscast.
Anyway, I agree with your point that he completely elevates this film, but that's to Michael B. Jordan's credit and the film's credit that he's in it in the first place.
Well,
so
technically,
that's not a criticism
Alexa
of the film.
Fogel, the casting director, who we
isn't-
were looking at, and we were like, hang on, these are all people from The Wire.
Yeah, she cast The Wire.
Alexa Fogel.
But anyway, my
and also
point
Wood
is-
Harris from The Wire, great in this.
Yeah, brilliant.
Got a lot to do in this.
But I'm saying that like it's not an accident that Michael B. Jordan cast it. Like, he's the director; he chooses who plays
yes,
people.
no,
Like,
I know.
yeah.
And look.
And I'm fair play to him, because I, as an actor, would not want to be against him, because I would be afraid he'd outact me.
But my you know, the point I'm making is that if you take him out, none of the other elements of this movie are good enough to elevate it to much more than a pretty good sports movie. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, like it's no Rocky 4, obviously.
It's a bit run of the mill.
It's not run of the mill. The what mill?
The mill, Kathy, the mill where the bread is produced, where the average sports movies are produced.
This is a movie
and they're
that has
churned out.
a montage where Michael B. Jordan is pulling a plane along to the Rocky music.
My favourite thing about that montage was when they're suddenly both looking in the mirror at themselves,
Yeah.
and it's cut against each other, which is awesome. But then you realise that for some reason somebody has wheeled a mirror out for Adonis Creed in the middle of the runway where he's been pulling his jet. He's like, okay, so today Adonis at 9:30 we're going to be pulling a jet, and then Pete, can you bring the mirror out
Yeah.
to the runway,
He
because
needs to look at himself.
we don't
like.
have enough time for him to get back inside to be able to look at himself. He needs to
There's
look at
two
himself
things this-
immediately
Two
after
things this
pulling that
montage
jet.
was missing, though.
What?
One, he wasn't drinking eggs,
Yes,
which is
correct.
a massive error.
We
Two,
all know you cannot become the heavyweight champion of the
can't.
world without 12 eggs a day
They
in a
even
glass.
implied he might be too light at the weigh-in, which they didn't show us. And then B, he wasn't punching carcasses of animals.
Carcasses of meat. Yeah.
Now, the montage, and I don't know, was it Creed 1 or Creed 2, with Creed running the streets with Rocky.
That was one. That was great.
Chasing you in the car and all.
Yeah.
That was... it was reminding me that montage had been better. However, I admired the creativity of this montage, particularly admired the plane. I liked that we were watching them, which we don't often and usually in these movies. What I'm not rooting for both of them, but this is where this movie confused me a little. I didn't quite know where my alliances lay, because I was actually rooting for your man. I wasn't really rooting for Creed, because what annoyed me about Creed was, okay, you've been the champion, you've retired, you made a whole thing about it. Now he's come back, you kind of let him fight out of your kind of sense of guilt, not thinking he'd actually win. Then he did win. Then you found out, because turns out when he was in prison, guys,
This is where it all
took
gets
a group photo of him and his mates in the prison yard, posted it to his old friend Creed, who has never responded to any of his letters.
Okay, go on.
And like, I just don't know who's taking like the class photos in prison,
Yeah.
printing them, and then getting them ready for postage.
And in this moment, then so his mom, Adonis Creed's mom, is watching the news.
Yeah.
And she sees that Drago has been injured in a bar fight, and she sees.
No,
She sees.
no, Dave, it's way past that.
This is how it must have gone down off screen. So she sees. The man that injured him in the bar fight sees his face on the news and is like, I've seen that face before.
No,
and then
but
she
that's
goes
not when it happened. She was watching him in the fight. That news footage had been a month prior. That's what made no sense. She let it get to the point where he was in the fight.
Oh yeah,
And
basically
then
what I'm
she
saying is,
went and got
how
the
does she
letters.
know? How did she remember that picture?
But I don't even think it's that she remembered the picture. It's that she. It's
she
that
just
the
took the
film-
letters down and
the
then
film
stumbled
wanted
onto
Michael
it.
B. Jordan to find out then, and not 6 weeks earlier. But that's when, in fact, the mother would have warned him.
Honestly,
so that was a plot hole.
That was the film jumping through absolute
Yeah,
hoops
that was a plot
to
hole.
make him seem like a
And
villain.
the other thing is, it still didn't make me think he was a villain, because what was a little bit confusing now was, so he wins the World Heavyweight Championship, right? And then Michael
through
B. Jordan,
dirty methods,
Michael
right? That's what
B. Jordan
kind of implied.
comes and finds him having, like, I guess, barbecue, and he's suddenly wearing like a leather jacket, and he's like a baddie from an 80s movie, and everyone's like trying to like kill Creed. Like, that stuff all just made no sense. And then Creed's like, oh, look what you did. And then he goes, I watched you live the life that should have been mine for 18 years. And I thought that was really powerful.
Yeah.
So taking away how silly that scene was, it then made me root for him, because then why did Creed go on the news and challenge him to a fight? Creed, like, it was like Creed and
what's
Tessa
his
Thompson.
motivation?
Because then Creed's mom dies, and then Creed and Tessa Thompson, she's like, you do what you gotta do. And it's like, so, sorry, are you telling me that a woman who gave up her own career as a performer because she's got hearing problems and she wants to like focus on her family life, and her husband's finally given up his outlandishly dangerous career, are we to believe that she'd be like, oh yeah, you should go back in the ring?
Exactly. When her whole thing for the whole movie is, I don't want our daughter to fight. All you've ever known is just to punch to solve your problems. Can you please open up and talk to me?
Like, he didn't even tell her he was in a group home.
And this is my problem. You're exactly right. This is my problem with the second half of the movie, is that we have to end the movie with this fight, with them fighting. So how do we get there? And then let's work backwards from there. And the steps that they take to get him there aren't believable enough, and the motivation isn't really there to give you the emotional impetus for the fight. And also, as you say, you don't quite know who you're rooting for, because I kind of would have been happy with a tie.
Oh yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
both thought they were both going to go the distance.
I actually thought,
and that would have been a nice homage to Rocky 1.
I was
Or
more
was it Rocky 2?
So I found the actual end Rocky
1. Yeah, it would have been a nice homage.
I actually found, no, but going the distance, you still have to, somebody has to win. Like Apollo Creed wins.
Yeah, but I would have rather he go the distance at the end than knock him out. I didn't like the
No,
Creed knocked him out.
I think it should have been a tie on points. Because
Well,
that can happen in
either way,
boxing.
we didn't want him to be punched out at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I didn't think that felt earned. Now, I think that was the point, because Michael B. Jordan or Adonis Creed clearly looks unsatisfied or dissatisfied with his victory, and then they do have that quite nice.
That was
I
a
thought
lovely
nice,
scene. Yeah.
nice final scene.
I think they have really great chemistry together, the two of them. So I think all that stuff was just a bit murky and we didn't know who we were rooting for. And what I thought they were going to do, which I would have been much more into, is if, you know the way he seemed to understand Tessa Thompson in a way that Michael B. Jordan's not quite paying attention to her. And he was kind of like, oh, you wrote that song, you should be singing that song. And then
I thought he was going to go after
and he said,
her.
I'm coming for you. So there was some implication.
What did he mean? What did he mean? I'm coming for you. And everything you've got.
Yeah, like, and I thought, oh my God, he's going to try it on with his wife. And then nothing happened. And then Michael B. Jordan's like, I'm going to challenge him to a fight. It's like, but why?
But sorry, exactly. Wouldn't that have been a far more interesting second half if it is Michael B. Jordan or Adonis Creed and his wife B become further in like apart, estranged, and then Damien continues to but like this is the problem. Damien halfway through the film just becomes, as you've correctly identified, an 80s leather jacketed villain. And it would have been, and he was far more interesting in the first half and in the final scene of the movie where he's a nuanced character.
Yeah.
And he's not just like calling him out, you a bitch,
and
you
he's
weak.
lived a really hard life.
And I'm like, so it's like, it would have been far more interesting to have him deal with the effects of being the heavyweight champion of the world and also trying to kind of subtly take down Adonis through getting closer to Tessa Thompson and various other things. Like, that's a more interesting movie, but it has to end in the fight, and this is the problem. And I felt like the second half of the movie was trying too hard to be a Rocky movie. We have to do these things, and it kind of suffered. The emotional stakes kind of suffered.
Because we weren't like, it's not like in the last movie where he was fighting Drago's son, so we were like, oh my God, you have to do this for your dad. Like, I had such a clear motivation as a viewer. But
to be fair as well, that movie had the backing of 40 years of real world in our world and their world, like history and stakes that we were all invested in. But whereas this movie had to establish the backstory, and I thought it did a good job actually of establishing their history and the guilt and all of that played into the boxing fight at the end very well. And you spoke of his sort of directorial flair. I did like that touch of suddenly it's just the two of them in this abstract sort of dream state in the ring.
The other thing, so the dream state, like just the two of them, and suddenly like 10 rounds have passed and nobody there but them. I think that was new to this franchise. And the other thing that I think is new,
it was interesting,
was in the very beginning, and then it happened again towards the end, was that like massively slow-mo, like fully slow-mo punch stuff to the side.
Yes, and
I don't think we've ever seen that.
It looked amazing. And do you know what I really liked in the fight you're referencing at the beginning and in the Felix versus Dame was how they had the camera establish sort of body punching target exposition.
Yeah.
So it's like, we kept zooming in on these sort of weak spots, like his ribs or his shoulder, and I thought that that was very well communicated.
I did as well, yeah, because I think visually. It's hard to like add flair to a film this many into a franchise. Like, I think we are really nitpicky on plot and character motivation. So, but if you took both of our nitpicking about the kind of 20-minute point when it flipped and then they suddenly became enemies, quote unquote, that aside. And like, I'll pick a hole in any film as long as I can, and I will always add in romantic sex scenes where I can. So that hence me wanting him to hook up with Tessa Thompson. But I still really think it's really good.
Oh no, it is good.
It is.
No,
like,
I'm just
nitpicking.
I'm not nitpicking. I'm just saying, I'm acknowledging that it was disappointing in some regards and could have been better. But that doesn't mean there's nothing bad in this movie. This movie is good. It's solid.
Point out the new direction that we've now seen for Creed 4.
So you called this.
Thread throughout is the daughter, who's very interested in fighting and seems to have a mean right hook.
Yeah.
And then in the montage, I would say first time ever we've seen a woman in a montage fighting him and coaching him.
Yeah. So
Creed 4 is going to be his daughter.
4 or 5, yeah. Probably 4 is him training his daughter and Tessa Thompson not wanting her to. That's quite a good emotional.
I don't think they've done the whole thing now where Creed has retired and come back and won again, right? They just, I mean, I know this franchise likes to eat that, but they can't do it again. I think it's going to be a time jump.
So 10 years, and she's maybe 19?
No, younger.
Yeah?
Because presumably you can
she
get
needs
into
to be like
younger.
19 or 20.
I don't know what age you would box at, because apparently Michael B. Jordan's an old man, but then Rocky wasn't actually that old in the 6th one. And also in the 5th one, Rocky was told he could never fight again, but then that never mattered.
Yeah.
And now we're in spoiler street, so I have to say I cannot quite remember what happened in Creed 2, but why didn't Rocky show up in this movie? I kept waiting for him.
I don't know. I don't think he died. I genuinely can't remember.
Terrible.
That's actually pretty bad because I enjoyed Creed 2. I don't remember.
But that's what I'm saying. We loved the Creed movies, but we've only ever seen them in the cinema, so it's not. We don't know them like we know the Rocky movies.
I mean, I think we would have remembered if Rocky had died.
Like, I definitely remember him at Adrian's grave.
Yeah, well, that was in
He
all
might have
loads of them.
died, and I think the fact that we've said we're like Rocky experts is really bad that we don't remember. Because why wasn't he in this movie?
I'm actually Googling.
Because Sylvester Stallone did produce it and like was involved in it. Dave's Googling.
Did Rocky die in Creed 2?
And if he did, we'd have been so upset and we'd have waxed lyrical about it on this very podcast.
He didn't die.
He didn't die.
He didn't die.
That's why neither of us remember it. I know Adrian died, obviously.
He's just not in it.
I'd say Sylvester Stallone's just like, listen, I can't be bothered. I don't want to get buff again.
It's not like he's not working though. He shows up in like, everywhere all the time. He's doing a whole TV series.
But then maybe they were just like, look, this film needs to move beyond Rocky.
Well, let's start. I think it was absolutely fine without him.
Yeah.
It didn't. I don't think he really would have elevated anything.
But what they should have
except
done though
a
is,
cameo,
but
right?
at the moment when this is when I thought he was going to show up, when Creed was looking across, and I loved it when he looked across the ropes and saw his friend not as he is now but as a teenager, and then I thought he was going to see Rocky like, come on, you can do it, the way Rocky used to see Adrian.
Is that where you thought Mickey was going to show
Yeah,
up?
well, that's when Rocky used to see Mickey, so then I thought that was going to be the homage. So
oh yeah, that might have worked.
That's what I was expecting, and I was like, right until the end, I was like, any minute now, Rocky's going to show up. Like at the very end, when it was just the three of them in the stadium, I was like,
maybe
you've won a boxing match. Do you and your family get to be the only people there at the end of the ring?
I figured it out. If we'd stayed for after the credits, he would have come out into the ring and said, "I'm putting a team together," and then it would have been Dame, it would have been Drago. It would have been, and then it's the Expendables.
When Drago came out, I was like, is this a human being or is it an actual house? Because like, he's just so big. He's just this huge animal.
Right, we're home.
Yeah, we're home.
We better wrap this up. That was fun though. Thanks for listening.
Fun.
Guys, let us know if you watched Creed 3. Let's chat about it at the Cinemile on Twitter, Letterboxd, or email us, thecinemile@gmail.com.
Or Instagram. Now,
Or
what's
Instagram.
the
Or leave
Rocky? So not the Gonna Fly Now music, but what's the Rocky victory music? That's what we need to sing.
It goes. Oh, I don't know. Thanks. Okay. Bye.
Let go of whatever was and walk into what is.
I feel those chains are breaking, yeah. I fear God, I don't fear death. I see those stripes and take a step.